Coming up on today's episode of Airborne-Unmanned, 2017 FAA UAS Symposium proves to be a major unmanned event. DJI proposes electronic ID framework for small drones, and AUVSI's Wynne preps for Exponential 2017. Hi, I'm Bree Cross. Welcome to the Aero-News Network's Airborne-Unmanned program, a weekly news program covering all things unmanned in partnership with AUVSI. The second FAA UAS Symposium, the first to feature AUVSI as a pivotal partner, is now history. In addition to some well-crafted sessions, panels, and discussions, the event boasted an SRO crowd that often required the hosting facility to add chairs to many of the more popular events. ANN scored an interview with FAA Administrator Michael Huerta, who started the event off with some interesting pronouncements that all the work heretofore conducted to get the unmanned community to where it is right now was, quote, the easy stuff, and then added some stats that provided a strong dose of reality to the assemblage that there were now over 770,000 drone registrations, along with some 37,000 drone pilots on the FAA Registry. A number of the proposals and initiatives were discussed over the course of the three-day event, including the formation of a new aviation rulemaking committee that is intended to create standards for remotely identifying and tracking unmanned aircraft during operations. FAA Administrator Michael Huerta also noted that often there is a combative atmosphere between government and the industries it regulates, quote, but I don't think we have that here. As the industry continues to grow at a substantial rate, Huerta also noted, quote, we know how fast you're churning out new drone designs, and we don't want the bureaucracy to hinder your progress. In fact, we want to be supportive of it. In the next Unmanned Minute, let's take a brief look at a few of the shorter stories that are making the rounds of the unmanned vehicle communities. Sky Futures and the Bristow Group recently conducted an interoperability test using a helicopter and a UAS in Galeana, Louisiana. The test demonstrated that a manned helicopter and a UAS could operate safely within the same airspace. During the 20-minute exercise, the Bristow Group flew its Sikorsky S-92 helicopter 500 feet above the ground, while Sky Futures flew a UAS towards the helicopter while keeping a horizontal distance of 200 feet away from the S-92. During a heli tour of the Florida coast, a space fan saw something interesting on the deck of SpaceX's drone recovery ship. Shooting with a telephoto lens, images showed a new piece of equipment that is thought to be a robot that would interact with and secure Falcon 9 boosters after they land on the vessel, though SpaceX is not yet commenting. The device has been named Optimus Prime by Reddit's SpaceX community. Elbit Systems has finished operational testing of its Seagull USV, a 12-meter-long vehicle designed to handle tasks ranging from anti-submarine and anti-diver warfare missions to mine clearing and hunting. Built to operate for 4 days at a time, the fully autonomous USV is controlled using line-of-sight or satellite communications data links, allowing for operations at unlimited ranges. The USV uses electro-optic and infrared sensors, as well as various sonars to search for underwater threats. That was our Unmanned Minute. Now back to the rest of the news. DJI has proposed an electronic identification framework for UAS that would allow authorities in the United States to identify drone owners when necessary, while also respecting their privacy. Quote, DJI understands that accountability is a key part of responsible drone use, and we have outlined a proposal that balances the privacy of drone operators with the legitimate concerns authorities have about some drone operations, said Brendan Schulman, DJI Vice President of Policy and Legal Affairs. Last year, the United States Congress directed the FAA to develop approaches to remotely identifying the operators and owners of unmanned aircraft and set deadlines for doing so over the next 2 years. DJI has outlined a concept in which each drone would transmit its location as well as a registration number or similar identification code using inexpensive radio equipment that is already on board many drones today and that could be adopted by all manufacturers. Anyone with a proper receiver could obtain those transmissions from the drone, but only law enforcement officials or aviation regulators would be able to use that registration number to identify the registered owner. Last week, DJI submitted the white paper to the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems International, which is collecting perspectives on how to remotely identify small drones in the United States in advance of an FAA effort to develop a consensus approach. At the FAA UAS Symposium, even when dealing with large crowds and the unmanned tech experts, AUVSI's president Brian Wynne was already prepping for the major event in the unmanned tech world, Exponential. ANN's Jim Campbell spent a little time getting Wynne's thoughts about the upcoming event this May 8th through 11th.
What is Exponential at this stage of the game going to be all about come this May?
Customers. It's really about getting the people who are utilizing the technology, integrating it, if I could use that word, into their value proposition, into their business model, to come and talk about how they're doing that. We already have the solution providers. The solution providers are all on our show floor. We got 650 odd exhibitors on our show floor and more each day. Increasingly, what this program is about is the customers learning from each other. So if you've got a railroad company that has been looking at how to do horizontal infrastructure, the oil and gas pipeline guys, they can benefit from whatever that is. What altitude do I need to fly at? What kind of platforms are appropriate for this? How much data am I going to ingest? All those kinds of questions that customers have in order to really drive this across Jeffrey Moore's chasm and into the mainstream. That's going to be the focus of Exponential.
Well, that's our program for this week. In addition to this program, our daily Airborne-Limited episodes covering the entire aviation and aerospace world are streamed Monday through Friday. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and tweet us. Get comprehensive real-time 24/7 coverage of the latest aviation and aerospace stories anytime at aero-news.net, and more information on the exciting world of all things unmanned at auvsi.org and airborne-unmanned.net. We'll see you next week.